addiction is any behavior that creates pleasure and relief or escape in the short term, but later manifests in craving and dependency and negative consequences in the medium to long term. Now, the addiction can be some kind of illegal substance, but it can also be food or alcohol or nicotine or obsessive gaming. It could be gambling, shopping, what you might call adult movies, the internet, work, or intimate horizontal jogging. Sorry for the euphemisms, but YouTube doesn't like the word SE and then the letter X. Bad as some illegal substances can be, and they can be very, very bad indeed, don't underestimate the damage of physical intimacy addiction in terms of the destruction of trust and whole families being ripped apart through divorce, or gambling in terms of the complete loss of all a person's assets, their home, their personal relationships, even something seemingly harmless like gaming. If you're spending 9 hours a day playing the latest computer games, what else can you possibly be doing with your life? Not much. You'd be missing homework or actual work or exercise or even just social relationships. Now, there is a theory which claims this is a genetic disorder, but no one really seems to be able to identify the genetic markers which leave you prone to addiction. That's not to say it can't run in families, and you need to be aware of that, but I think there's another explanation, as we'll see. There's also the criminal justice argument that people make a choice to become addicted, but does anyone really think, cool, I'll become a smackhead today? I think there's something else going on, so let's look at what that can be. Now, as humans, we have a psychological need for attachment. Either as an infant or a young child, we need to be attached to someone who will look after us. It's that or we perish. And the reciprocal is that many adults need someone or something to look after. There are few things more rewarding than bringing up a child, and this explains why quite so many childless women in later life get pets. The bond is a very strong one, and that's because we're rewarded with endorphins. Now, as I'm sure you'll know, endorphins are peptide hormones associated with pleasure. I've seen experiments on infant mice that have their endorphin receptors deactivated, and they quite literally don't even cry out for food or comfort from their mothers. And we know that if you put infants or children through high stress or trauma, their endorphin receptors don't adequately develop. So, when in later life some people get sucked into a world of illegal substances, they get an artificial endorphin hit like they've never known before. Now, I'm not contesting the phenomenon of biochemical addiction as some people do. I believe it's a real thing, but it acts in parallel with the psychological need for a drug. So what's going on with addictions? If past traumas haven't been dealt with, they can be with you for years. Thus, the addiction is a way to deal with the past, but it's only ever a temporary solution, and the demons soon come back, so the behavior is repeated. So, the obvious question is, how can you protect children from experiencing the trauma which can lead to addictions in later life? Now, childhood victims of violence or worse, abuse, are massively traumatized. They often have negative and defensive worldviews, they're quite disengaged, and who can blame them? Heroin addicts, for example, talk about needing the drug to feel normal again or just block out the pain for a short time. And whilst I think, violence and abuse are the worst things parents can do, be really careful with rage or put-downs. I remember as a youngster, my mother always telling me, you never stick at anything, and my father constantly belittling my sporting efforts because, as an 8-year-old, I should have been able to beat an adult at cricket. It was only when I grew up and I'd been doing kickboxing for a few years, I realised that no, actually I can stick at things, and as I became halfway decent, I managed to break free of the spell of both of them. So be careful about the way you speak to kids, and be very careful of what you say to them. So the takeaway, be a peaceful parent, no hitting, and don't kid yourself by calling it smacking. Rebranded violence is still violence. I know this can be hard to hear, but accept it. Don't shout at them, and don't impose your will by coercion. None of this naughty step garbage. Sorry, Super Nanny, you've got that one dead wrong. Instead, talk to them. Even from an early age, kids have an innate sense of fairness. Now, this isn't saying, let them run riot. You've got to have rules, but implement them peacefully, and you'll grow a great child into a great adult who will be at far less risk of addiction. And if you did do this and your kids are now grown, have an honest chat with them. Apologize. They'll appreciate it far more than you know. If you like this, please like, recommend, and subscribe.